this. Is there anything you want the fans to know or any last thing you want to say to them before we get to see this series tonight?
This is where the fun begins.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back and we are live. Welcome to the Jedimike7 Movie News Show. I'm your host, Jedimike7, and today we're going to be discussing one of highly anticipated shows, Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix. This is the second adaptation of this iconic anime series. It came out in 2005, which is almost, I think, the 19-year, almost 20-year, but it's 19-year anniversary when it premiered on February 21st of 2005. So almost 19 years since this series came out. And today we're going to be reviewing the show, all spoiler filled, everything as you see below. So you guys had enough time to see it. You've seen the internet, you've probably seen, the critic score and everything on Rotten Tomatoes. This is just our full, authentic spoiler discussion, what we like, what we didn't like, how they can improve, all, etc. But today, I'm not alone. Here I'm with my friend Tevin. Tevin, how you doing, man?
Hey, Mike. Hey, what's up, guys?
Doing good, doing good. Yeah, and make sure you guys also subscribe and follow all the platforms. Tevin is on the link in the description box below. Let us know that if you guys are watching the pre-recording right now, make sure you guys leave your thoughts and comments and let us know what you thought of this show, because we have a lot to discuss and there's a lot to break down with this. So, Tevin, now I remember back in 2018, I believe it was White Top. I think it was in the hallway area, right outside our dorm, right?
Yeah.
And we got the news. We saw the phones. Netflix is going to be making an adaptation of Last Airbender with the original creators. Can you kind of like recap, that time, before, pre-COVID, pre all that, the excitement from fans, the curiosity, maybe even the fear you might have had before we kind of get into what led to what we got, the final product, which was this past weekend?
Yeah. At least I know for me. So just to give y'all like a quick story real quick. I used to go visit their dorm because I lived in the different dorm right next to it. And I remember I think it was either me or you scrolling on Instagram, and that's when we first saw the news that the show was being created. And I remember our first reaction, me, you, and Josh, was fear, instant fear. And I don't know how you guys felt inside, but I felt like I had PTSD from the 2010 movie. Like I had instant flashbacks of my mom asking me that morning when I saw the movie, Tevin, are you sure you want to go see this movie? I'm hearing a lot of bad things. I just had flashbacks back to that day. And all I could think is, oh man, please don't ruin this beloved series for me again. Like that was my instant feeling. Just fear and everything like that. And yeah, that was the first image that they showed, and I loved the first image. But like I said, I felt a lot of fear, but I was happy to see that the original creators were. Note that I said, well, they was on the project at first. So, do you want me to go past the initial thoughts, or you want to say?
Well, yeah, well, I'm just saying because that was just the first time, we got the initial reaction to it because I know when I first saw the news on my phone and my first reaction was like, that was my first reaction, honestly, and I was just like, I didn't know, because we've actually, I think 2017 was beginning of Netflix live action adaptations of anime cartoons, particularly with Death Note, and we all remember that, and stuff like that. We all want to erase that out of our memory. Yeah, so yeah, we gotta erase that. So, but yeah, as we get into it, it's still a long wait. We didn't know when it was coming out, but we know they're in development of it. But then we get into it, then all of a sudden, 2020 happened. 2020 happened. The world shut down, but then it gives creators to actually work and fully flesh out their ideas for coming series and shows and movies and stuff. But then we got a post from the creators of the show saying that they announced that they are departing from the live action adaptation. This is the directors or the creators. I think it was Brian and Michael, that they were the original creators of the animated series, and they were involved. I'm pretty sure they're probably involved in casting and at least the overall general consensus of the show. But when it got to the meat of it, of making creative decisions, this is when they departed. Now, usually, I don't know about you, but I know for me, I understand that anytime I hear, we left over creative decisions, usually there's another reason why they left, but that's just kind of the safe political answer. This, honestly, and after watching the final product, is creative differences. And whether good or bad, we'll discuss that. But yeah, and then that's when a whole shift of the fan base was like really worried and wondering, what's going on with this. But I don't know, when you heard the news that they were leaving, what was your thoughts?
Instantly, I said, we're fucked. Like that was my very first thought. I was like, oh man, we're cooked. Like there's no way this can be better. But over time I did start to think about it, and I was like, I'm pretty sure Netflix and whoever is behind the series know that fans do not want to relive 2010 again. I'm pretty sure they had our best interests at heart, and I wanted to keep some optimism that they were going to give us a good project, when it's all said and done, despite the creative differences that may have happened.
Right. Yeah. And so, and like, long story short, as we get, into it, we're like, okay, well, they're still making it. And sometimes we even forgot, this project was even coming out. Like you hear all the, the rumors and speculation, but then we thought this wasn't, going to be made at all. Right. So I was really worried. Shout out to Uncle Stu in the chat. Shout out to Uncle Stu. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, and I was kind of worried, but then we hear they're making their main announcement of animated properties like that going to be continuing with their creators, that we're going to get a continuation of the original series, but in a different time frame between Legend of Korra and the second, the original series and stuff. And we also get animated movies. We're getting a Zuko animated film. We're getting Kyoshi. Again, they love the Netflix folks love Avatar Kyoshi so much, but we'll talk about that. But yeah. And they're going to get different animated properties. So I was, happy that, hey, listen, long wait here, about to be almost 20 years to finally get to say that once in my life, and finally now it's like, hey, we're going to get some Avatar content coming back to back wherever, right? And then all of a sudden the casting came out. Then we see the pictures that came out. Now, first, I actually thought this was very promising. I thought, hey, these are actually looking, better than some of the original, live action interpretations, which we won't talk about. But yeah, and I thought they looked good. I thought they looked, exactly what some of the characters were in the animated version. So at least it was promising. But yet we've been here before. We've been here before. So the only time will tell. Then we get the first trailer. Now, again, I love cinematic. You're a director. You understand that you have, an eye for, in terms of presenting something in a cinematic level, or making sure that it's polished, making sure that the final product is hey, the job is making sure that people want to go see this film, whatever film that you're creating, and or show. And I feel like this show had an awesome first trailer. The music, everything. That's when I was amped. But yeah, what was your thoughts on the first trailer?
Yo, so Mike follows me on Instagram, so he saw all the posts that I made. First off, like you said, it felt like it took so long for us to finally be here, for like them to start the rollout of the show. So them putting out the first trailer, I was just hyped just off of that alone. But then also like the shots, the cinematography, like the acting, like they chose some of the best scenes to put in that trailer. And it pretty much looked like the perfect, like, just the visualization of if Avatar was a live action show, it just looks like the perfect, adaptation of it. Like everything just looked perfect from the first trailer. And it gave me so much more optimism than I had before we got the trailer. And I'm like, okay, I actually believe that we're about to get a really good show out of this.
Yeah. So I was hooked. Again, they only need to give me that first trailer, and I was already sold. But then they got the second trailer, and I'm feeling it. Again, the visual effects I felt were really polished and stuff like that. But yeah, then here we go. On February, let me make sure my date's correct. I believe it was February the 22nd. Yes, when the series, all episodes. Now I got to see it early, at least this past last weekend. Right, but we couldn't give the review embargo until Thursday. But yeah, and I saw all the episodes at once, and have my thoughts. I kept my thoughts to myself, but I was sending you saying, "Listen, I'm halfway through. This is what I thought." Right. But now, this is for a moment. I was like having moments where I was feeling like a kid again. I mean, there's a reaction, another content creator that we record our reactions there, and I was like, I had my staff, my cane, whatever. I was acting like a kid. Because I have the right to, and because recently a lot of content, unfortunately, have not been, there's been the kind of somewhat declined quality of storytelling recently, certain properties, and for me, I just want to go back to just being a fan again. Now I'm a critic, and I have to review movies, even movies or shows that I know are going to be bad. I still have to review it, but this was like, let me take a step back as a fan and let me watch this. And then I finished the episodes, and then I let you know what I thought. But then after that, I waited, and then I saw the Rotten Tomatoes score of the critics, my colleagues, some of them, right? And it was a mixed bag, right? And then you see the audience rating a little higher, but then still a mixed bag. And then I'm like, now I'm watching this with my wife. I had to watch it again. I got the excitement and everything. Let me rewatch it a second time. And then I was kind of swallowing my apprehensions because I don't want to be overly critical, because I know that's the first neat reaction I as a fan we can get. But then I had my come to my senses, took my notes, stepped back, and I realized, okay, do I enjoy this show? Yes, I do. That being said, there are some problems we have to discuss. So, Devin, what was your overall thoughts after viewing all the episodes of the overall season? Your thoughts, did you generally like it? Did you generally dislike it? Or do you hate it? What was your general thoughts before we kind of dive in deep into this?
All right, so viewers, I'm gonna let y'all know now. Michael knows me. I give my thoughts raw and uncut, and I'm gonna be 100% honest when I give this review. I somewhat struggled with the same thing that Michael said that he struggled with, where I wanted to, watch it as a fan, but at the same time, I am a big movie and television person, and I was like, okay, I need to separate fan and viewer and see like, do I really like this show outside of just being a fan of the original? Now, I'll say this on both aspects. The more I think about it, on both aspects, I overall enjoyed the show, but it is heavily flawed to me. There's a lot of things that need work, but I will say that without even thinking about it, this is 10 times better than the 2010s movie. I
Of
don't know
course.
why I don't know why I've been seeing people on the internet say that the 2010s movie is better than this. There's some people that are actually saying that, and I'm like, are we watching the same show? Because this
Right.
is 10 times better. I don't understand that. But if you ask me my overall thoughts, it's a good show. It's a solid start. And to be honest, I think when they do finish the whole series, that this could be not better than the original, but like I told the Michael before we got on here, a good companion piece to the original. Like it wouldn't be bad to view if you just finished watching the original show.
Mhm. Yeah, and I agree because like I was saying this with like my friends, in the press industry because we were watching the review, like we read the reviews and stuff, and I was like sitting back like guys, like what stuff are you actually saying? Like I'm like, you're saying this is like the Ember Island of the life. For those you
Yeah,
don't know, for those you don't know that you watched the original series, you know what I'm talking about. It's like this is the Ember Island version of the original series, but on Netflix.
right.
I
I
read,
saw
yeah, I was
that
like, I
post on
laughed. I was
Twitter.
like,
I was like, please, please be serious. Like, let's be serious right now.
yeah, yeah. I was just saying that, and I was like, wow. But then here's the thing. When I watched the first episodes, 'cause I didn't like, I binged all through it. It was a hard pill to swallow because I'm like, okay, I was a little bit concerned after episode one, which is, I believe we can, hopefully, I think we probably can say this, is the weakest out of the whole series, which unfortunately, the fact that that's your first episode to take in, because again, even in serialized television, they take the ratings of what your second episodes, how many repeat viewers come back, because anybody could be assigned to watch a pilot. Anybody could be
Mhm.
assigned to watch the first episode, but they judge the numbers of the second episode of episodes that come out weekly to see, hey, is this show could be renewed for season two? Hey, is this are we going to green light the continuation of the show? Are we going to cancel it? But then after we get to episode 2, 3, and 4, I was getting like, okay, I'm seeing their dynamics. I'm kind of liking here. Some more than others, which we'll get into. But yeah, and yeah, so that's what I was feeling. But then, so now I have a whole laundry list of stuff, what I wrote down from the show, stuff that I felt kind of conflicted with. But let's just talk about the cast, right? As you see here, we have the actors that play here. Aang, the trio, and also the main antagonist, at least for season one, and eventual ally. But no spoilers on that. Yeah, we have Aang, we have Sokka, Katara, and then we have Prince Zuko. Now, we'll start with Aang, which is actually the title of the first episode. What was your
Mhm.
thoughts on the actor portrayal of Aang, the Last Airbender?
Okay, so I do kind of want to say when they first announced him to be playing Aang, I was actually pretty happy about that because I've seen him in a movie before this. It was a comedy movie, but I was thinking like, if he was good in that comedy movie, then he can definitely bring like the childish, the childish feeling that Aang has from the original show. And he now, don't get me wrong, for the most part, I feel like he did a good job, but he is one of the actors, and I really feel bad for saying this because he is a kid, but he is one of the actors that I feel like needs a little bit of improvement, but I am going to give him leeway because he is still young. He still has time to develop. And like I said, he wasn't bad, like nowhere bad at all. It just, I felt like there needed to be improvements.
Yeah, I absolutely agree because I have a feeling first, the kid actor, again, you're playing a 12-year-old kid.
Mhm.
And with this is like I was actually kind of conflicted because on one hand, like, hey, I want you to be a childlike, person, which is Aang is in season 1, but then also at the same time, are you giving like delivery of the emotional elements and the innocence, again of Aang, but also again the child who's now having this burden of the weight of the world on his shoulders, and I feel like it was kind of like the line delivery I felt, or at least maybe some of the lines that was written for him,
And
were
oh,
say again.
sorry. I was just gonna say, personally, and I feel like this is more on the writing's problem too. I feel like they made him whine too much. Like one thing I told Michael is because I rewatched the original series a week before this version came out, and I said I don't feel like people put enough emphasis on Aang is literally only a 12-year-old kid, and the whole world is expecting him to end a 100-year war so quickly. And I felt like that's something that this version could, explore a little bit more. And I like that they attempted it, but the way that they did it, where every single episode, and I felt like 50 to 70% of this kid's lines was, I'm just a kid. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just a kid. I don't know what I'm doing. And it's like, at some point, like, we get it. We get it. And it made me think about the original show where they were so good at show, don't tell. Because in the
Yeah,
original show, you still got the vibe that Aang fully didn't know what he was doing, but you still knew that, like, he still knew, like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do what I have to do. Like, he didn't have to say it. We got that vibe from him. And in this version, I felt like they were just telling us way too much.
hmm yeah, yeah. The whole show don't tell. You absolutely right. Because it's like every time I keep hearing, uh, I don't want the responsibility, but like I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna figure out with my friends. Yeah, that's what I'm
Mhm.
gonna do. And yes, and I'm the avatar, and that's what I'm gonna, and then I also taking a step back to the position Aang took of like he liked playing games, a lot, but also sometimes those games were tied to his development as a character as well. Not that they were just meaningless, like oh he's just doing some dumb stuff. It led to something.
Mhm.
So like him playing with Elephant Koi in Kyoshi Island, which we don't see. When we see like him playing airbending games, in the air temple when he eventually finds Momo and he's chasing Momo, right?
Mhm.
He just find Momo in the corner and that's it's like, he's like,
Hey,
oh,
what's going on
okay,
with your bad guitar?
right, and stuff like that. But yeah, I was just kind of feeling like this wasn't like because this show was shot 2.5 years ago, and now he's like I believe 13, 14 now. So and his voice has changed, definitely got a little bit taller. But yeah, I think that again, him and another character, which is gonna be the next one, I feel those two need to have a more development. And unfortunately, because of some of the things they removed from this story in season 1, I felt they actually hindered in terms of some of their performances that could have what we probably been looking for. But unfortunately, we just have to wait until season 2 because going on in terms of Aang, we got to talk about the next person, which is Katara. So Katara, which I felt also was a one I felt that look wise, look great and everything. However, again, some of her dialogue felt like she was still trying fully haven't grown into her role, and feel like I'm not saying that it's coming from a position that Katara has a motherly spirit, but also because the fact of like the mother, their mother passed away, from the Fire Nation, and she had to play that mother figure, even when Sokka, and like the fact that he don't like that, but also to decide for Sokka is that when he remembers his mom, he only sees Katara's face because she filled in that role for him.
Mhm.
And I didn't feel like we kind of get that a lot. It's more like, oh, I want to learn water bending, which we get in the first season in the anime series, but like that dynamic where like why she wants to leave leave the southern water tribe and she's going to learn water bending and she's just learning stuff off the fly and everything. Okay, that's one thing, but I felt for me personally there's certain things where I just wanted her to get the more emotional sense out of her because she is the heart of the team Avatar. Even when moments where emotionally, when other characters are out of line, she's able to calm them down and bring them back, and and help center them, and which we kind of get that in the last episode, but 8 episodes too late. You know what I'm saying? Like so, yeah, particularly like when she's telling Aang to calm down, say, "Hey, we need you. We're your family now." Like, well, you should have said that back in the Air Temple, but it's okay. I'll let it slide. But yeah, those are the things I kind of felt that I was kind of winning for Katara. What about you?
Katara, I was actually, I'm like in between good and okay with her. Like,
Yeah.
she wasn't bad, or I don't really feel like she needs a lot of work to do. There is a little bit, there's
Correct.
not too much work to do, but there is aspects of her in the cartoon that I very do miss. Like, she doesn't, like you said, she doesn't feel as motherly as she does in the original show. And also it was almost like she felt more fierce and strong in the original show. Like, if she had an opinion, she's gonna stand on that opinion. Kind of like the whole women can't fight in the battlefield type thing in the original show. It felt more like she really strongly believed that in the older version, but in this version, it just kind of like, it does feel simple to her, if you get what I mean. Like,
Yes.
it doesn't feel like she feels as strongly as she did in the original. It just like, oh, that's messed up. Why won't you let women fight? Like, it doesn't feel as strong. I don't feel it as much as, like, when Katara felt that in the original show, I felt it. But in this version, it's just like, oh, it's just something you're mad about for right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
So,
mean, you're right. You
uh,
said the fact that it's not between good and okay, because I don't think like she's like horrible. All right, again, there's
mhm.
nothing like, I'm just conflicted. Like, hey, this needs some growth. This needs some tuning up to, which again that can change. But and then do I see you as being a great Katara? Absolutely. I just think again they just need more work in terms of fine tuning that character. Because yeah, her performance, but also I think a part of that, there are certain stories that serve that motherly nature, which I think that were removed and or that
Mhm.
wasn't addressed in this first season. But again, I just want to shout out to people in the chat. Shout out to Marcus in the building, to Aang, Appa, Sokka, the gang's back in a better live action adaptation. Yes, 100%.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, we're absolutely saying no. We're not saying no. This is absolutely superior than 2010. Shout out to D Mike Entertainment. Shout out to you, man. Hope you're doing well. Shout out to Team JVS. This is a JVS Media Production. It's people I work, the outlet that I work with, and I hope you guys doing well. Shout out to Derpy Entertainment. It deserves a season 2. I would like a
Definitely.
season 2, and I kept saying it's like, man, I want to see a season 2. Also because of one character who I need them to bring in live action. Because yeah,
Yeah,
anyway, we'll get into that. Shout out to BJ Tight 98. Hey John, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. You're doing well. I haven't talked to you in a minute. Hope you're doing well. Hope your son's doing good. But yeah, going with terms of Katara, we also have the big thing about her character is her relationship with Sokka. Now, there have been before the show came out, there was actually a piece that came out through Variety saying that that they were addressing that this character, that some moments of him of sexism in the original show was taken out because they felt that was kind of weird and not addressed. And then we saw a whole outpour of people online going in and saying like, what, that's a huge part of his character and blah blah, blah and this whatever. And
mhm.
to me, I'm like, let me just go watch this, watch this and be judged. Now, me personally, I actually think he carried a team Avatar out of the 3. Me personally, that who was the closest to his adaptation in terms of Aang, Katara, and Sokka. To me, it was Sokka. Now, because again, there's still more that if you just let it fester, that again we can get the more animated. He's an animated personality, right? So which is very difficult to do. But you already got a dude look like a cartoon character. So I mean, you already done half the job. So it's like like yeah. So but he I felt to me he had some good line delivery for the most part. Certain interactions of his comedy, his comedic humor was there, and even his bickering, with Katara. Like there was one scene in Omashu when they were arguing with each other that actually was smiling because, like, okay, this is the Katara and Sokka what I was waiting for. Like, yeah, in episode 1, they're they're in the river, leading to Aang and stuff like that. But that how the bickering and really kind of heated battle of that sibling relationship was not heavily emphasized, even though I saw it in this season.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't utilized in the best way. It wasn't enough of it, where it's like, hey, this is Sokka and Katara, and they keep going back and forth, and that makes also the part of the bickering entertaining. But yeah, what was your thoughts on Sokka?
So I agree with you when you say that Sokka was the best part of Team Avatar in this version. My only thing is I still somewhat have the same problem with Aang, where they did too much telling and not showing,
Yes.
particularly the part with the whole I'm not sure if I'm a good warrior. Like Sokka did always have that insecurity in the original show, but it was shown in different ways. It wasn't always told. And in this version, I felt like it was told way too much. But out of all of Team Avatar, he is the most like the original character. He has some funny moments. Some people on the internet were saying that he felt too serious, but I'm just like, well, you still had your comedic moments with him. And I actually was fine with how they made him a little bit more serious because people got to remember the showrunner said this is a remix of the original show. It's not a remake, it's not a one-to-one adaptation, it's a remix. And changes were obviously going to be made. And I felt like so far with the core 3 right now, he had the best changes. Do I feel like they need to work on his dialogue and make him stop whining about being, a good leader and stuff like that? Yeah, but overall, I feel like they did him a lot of justice. And I also liked when they went into the spirit world and he had that memory of his dad not being sure if he was going to be a great
Yes.
warrior. I felt like that added a lot more depth to like him and his
Yeah,
dad's
this scene right here.
relationship. And I want to see what they do with it in the future when we do eventually catch up with their dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was kind of funny because watching people who have not seen the show. So it's like, wait, is his dad alive? Is they're like, yeah, it's alive.
Mhm. Like,
like, is the uncle alive? Like, yeah, they're right there. They're at war. It's like, yeah, in this scene, because what was my favorite episode of this season was definitely the Spirit Away episode for me personally. Like that was some of the most unexpected stuff that I saw, and which we'll get into, and the most I was like geeking out because I was like, oh my god, I was like, and I totally been like, oh yeah, of course they're in season 1, but I know they'll be right here,
mhm.
like, and then when they just show up, and we'll get into it, but like. For us
Yeah.
knowing, the camera panning when a camera turns and you see the face of who we're talking about, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh my god, right? Like my wife's like,
Yeah,
what? I was
that
like,
episode was definitely a treat, a big surprise. I was just like, "Oh, they're actually doing this."
yeah,
So yeah.
then no, but we'll get into it. So going to that, we also have one of the most fan favorite characters in the Avatar universe, which is Zuko. Now, if you the actor that looks familiar to you, he actually was in the Marvel universe. He didn't play a hero, but he played the relative of a hero's best friend, Aquafina's brother in Shang-Chi. So yeah, he had a little cameo in there. But yeah, that's where we remember him. Now he's having a leading role in this as Zuko, the son of Fire Lord Ozai, nephew to Uncle Iroh, and the brother to Princess Azula, which we'll get into. But yeah, what was your thoughts on Zuko?
Now this is a character, in my opinion, I have nothing but great things to say about his character. Like he's probably, in my opinion, the second best character in this version because like the acting great. martial arts, like he has some of the best fighting scenes in this show, in my opinion. Like it, yeah, he is definitely up there. And funny enough, a lot of people from the original show say that Zuko is their favorite. Personally, me, I always say Aang, and I always name a lot of people before Zuko. Not that I didn't love Zuko in the original, I love him, but you know, I just didn't love him as much as everybody else did. But in this version, it's almost like I see what everybody else sees now. Like he might actually be my favorite character in this version. But in terms of out of like how they changed the character and what they do with him in this version, I probably say he's my second favorite character. But we'll get to my favorite eventually.
Mhm. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. They absolutely nailed Zuko, and also the one thing when they were promoting this show, I love the voice actors were supporting them. Again, because obviously with the creators and stuff, even though again, that's why I say there's hope with this show because the creators were also there at the premiere.
Mhm.
The whole cast was there. Some of the voice actors that can make it was there, but he also gave some kind words. Especially Dante Bosco was like almost a mentoring Zuko, the actor to play Zuko, because you've seen the promotion and everything, and like them for line, just doing like just quick, funny promos and stuff. Like, hello, Zuko here, and then he pops up on the side. They like that,
Mhm.
like those moments again. It solidified that hey, they are at least talking, definitely talking to each other, which I felt that was missing in the 2010 film. But and I actually think that some parts of Zuko, he was my second favorite, and another character, which was my favorite of this season, Iroh, was that they absolutely nailed their relationship, but also his positioning of who he is as a character, of where the arrogance or the determination and also the I guess the frustration of his character to a point where it's animated, where he just like making just dumb decisions because he's so driven to get in the avatar, but he not understanding why. And I actually
Mhm.
think they took a step further than Zuko in season one, in my opinion, because certain things again with the relationship between Zuko and Iroh, they didn't get that really until season two, but they actually got it here in season one, which I actually think was a good decision on their part for people who have not even seen, show. Like say, why this guy acting like an idiot and just angry and stuff like that, and then why is his uncle just give him so much grace and stuff, and he's being mean to all the Fire Nation soldiers and stuff. Why is he doing that? Well, it's because of this and everything, and then even a step further of like his crew members, like how
Oh
they
yeah. I
that was
love
like
that.
man, they didn't do that in the show. It's like, and then how he gets his scar, they made it even more like gruesome, and stuff, because like it wasn't just like a flash, and then therefore like, oh yeah, he just got burnt. Like, no, I'm sitting you down, I have my foot on your on your neck, and I'm burning, your face right in front of right in front of your entire family and your sister who's smiling,
Mhm.
and stuff. And it was, I just thought that was just absolutely executed beautifully. And even then, the actor, when he was giving his performance leading up to that, he was still wasn't a changed character. Even when this line delivery was talking about, how his Fire Lord Ozai was like telling like, hey, weakness cannot be tolerated, right? And he said, well, sometimes the weak can become strong, which I thought that was powerful. But seeing even then, we're seeing a lot of Asian, storytelling from their culture, where parenting, definitely how they have their parents influence them in terms of being somewhat emotionless or denying things is going on with them mentally or whatever. Like they're addressing that a lot more in film, like A24 studio, Everything Everywhere All at Once,
Mhm.
Beef on the show on Netflix, which is a great show and everything, that dives like in mental illness and stuff, but great show. But yeah, I love what they did that in terms of again showing just terms of parent neglect on the child, and now they're just a byproduct of just terms of their parenting and their family. But yeah, what is another thing about with Zuko? I think we go into Zuko and Iroh because they're a pair basically. How did you feel about the actor that portrayed Iroh? Because that's a whole nother piece.
Yeah, another perfect adaptation from the original. I've seen some people have issues with him in this version, but I'm just like, I don't see what the issue is. It felt very, it felt very, I guess you could say like it was a great adaptation of what they had in the original, and kind of like what you said, they took further steps in to their relationship in this version. I love the scene at Iroh's son's funeral where
Oh
Zuko,
yes,
I forget exactly what he said, but it was just a beautiful scene, and it was like I love how they're establishing their relationship before they even got on the search for the Avatar, and Iroh actually has one of my favorite lines and scenes in this version where he plans on joining Zuko
yes,
and he's like, I have everything I need on that ship. I got all my tea with me. And it's like, that's not what he's really talking about, but I love that, that they did it
yeah.
like that because it has his charm and his love for Zuko, but also with his comedy from the original show. So yeah, Iroh is probably another perfect character. He's not my favorite character of the show so far, but
Okay,
I love
got
him
you.
a lot.
Uh, well, okay. I think I know. I think I might know who it is because they're in the same family.
I don't think you're gonna know.
Okay, all right, okay, all right, then all right. I won't speak it. But yeah, but I will say this: the actor that plays Uncle Iroh, he was also on Kim's Convenience, who's also where Simi Liu was also on a Kim's Convenience show, and he also played in The Mandalorian as a X-wing fighter pilot and stuff. And that's where I really got to see him more a lot and stuff in Star Wars, right? But I can cold-heartedly say, watching Kim's Convenience, watching um, uh, uh, him in the Mandalorian series, and while watching him in this is his best performance as an actor I've seen from him. But especially the funeral scene of his son's funeral, which again, things we have gotten till season 2, right? In the Lost
Mm,
Tales of Ba Sing Se, where we all bawling our eyes out and everything. And but this was like the single tear drop of him as a at his son's funeral, and then again Zuko is standing beside him, in his funeral when everyone's giving his condolences, walking away, like, no, I'm sitting with you, right? That to me was very powerful, even when it comes to him admitting his faults as being the Dragon of the West when he's captured by Earthbenders, right? We get that he's got that title, but we never actually see the burden of the say, hey, I was just playing my part in this war, but hey, the value of life and stuff, but then at the same time, I lead the siege that led to the death of of your family, and he
mm,
has to accept that. But he also is still a peaceful man, and we had the opportunity to combat that and everything. He's like, no, there's been enough killing and stuff in this war. But again, people are just a byproduct also of their environment, but also their choices. More importantly, and I just like that again that we're still seeing him dealing with that I think that wasn't really addressed much, at least in season 1. I mean, we hear about the
mm.
Dragon of the West and still also being a protector of Zuko, but we never actually see that in terms of with Earthbenders, because he getting respect from Fire Nation, obviously. But yeah,
Mhm.
but when he getting captured, that to me was like, yeah, how he did that, and still, which again, nothing in the 2010 version talk about Jasmine T, playing Pai Show, eating, everything uh believable, and they're saying that this is Iroh, even when he's giving words of wisdom that then again, because this whole show is just textbook of giving life lessons and quotes you can stand on, and Iroh has I think more than any other character has been the deliverer of the messenger of those quotes. He's the one that delivered those quotes that have been so iconic, that's been staying with us for years, right? So, and I felt like he did a great job with his performance in this. But and going on to that, and we get continuing on other characters. We got Fire Lord Ozai, who we haven't even seen his face in the original series for like 2 seasons, but we see him front and center in this. So what was your thought on Ozai, the Fire Lord?
You might not believe it, but he's actually my favorite character in this adaptation.
Okay. Hey.
Wait, what'd you say? It kind of froze a little bit.
I said, go ahead. I said, go ahead, man. Yeah, I said, I have no faults, man. Go ahead.
Okay, so one of the things is, of course, this version, they really wanted to drive home how mature this version was going to be. And those first 10 minutes, yeah, they already drive home that thing. And I actually like a lot of people say Azula is their favorite villain in the original. I always say that Ozai has always been my favorite version in the original, but I felt like there was more they could have done with him. But that's because they wanted to keep him a mystery for the first 2 seasons. But in this version, obviously, they show him, I think, from episode 1, right? So
yeah.
yeah, so they show him like straight from episode 1. And at first, when I saw that they were doing that, like when they first announced it, I was a little worried. I was a little iffy. That was until I seen the show. And I'm just like, yo, now let me say this. I'm a fan of power. So I love characters that are cold hearted in shows and stuff like that. And Ozai is a cold-hearted motherfucker in this version. Like, I think he might be a little bit worse than the original Ozai. Like that, in this show, he is just off the rails. Like, like that, seeing the Agni Kai between him and Zuko. I'm not gonna lie, it actually was like heartbreaking. But at the same time, like Ozai's actor was giving such a good performance. It was like, man. Oh man, that like it was just a great performance. Even with his storyline with Azula, like how he was toying with Azula, and I feel like that was something in the original show. It was implied, how messed up their relationship is, but I'm glad in this version we got to see it fleshed out more because it's like he really does push his kids to unbelievable limits, and it really shows. It really, I guess it just adds more onto like how horrible of a person he is. But I guess that's why I love him. I guess that's why I love him.
Yeah, no, you said the one thing, power, which by the way, man, I wish I would have gotten it when you were watching it. Because I got into it late. But it's with the raising Keenan. I got into that, and then I had to go back all the way to square one and building up. I just interviewed for the show BMF, so on Stars. I know you were aware of that.
Of course.
So, okay, so yeah, I interviewed them, and I binged those 2 seasons. I'm hooked. So I'm like, yeah, we probably could talk about power. I felt with this show, again, Ozai definitely, I felt in terms of season 1, because again, he was always a hidden presence built up to, season 3 of Book Fire, where he is the one that Aang eventually going to have to face. But now you're seeing this proportion, like, how is this 12-year-old kid going to face this Ozai? Right? That's the view where I'm like, you're putting fear as a viewer of my, as a viewer, like this is Ozai. I'm like, this is the guy that's going to fight this 12-year-old kid. Oh no, that 12-year-old kid is gonna get demolished, right? And also iconically been voiced by Mark Hamill in the original series and everything. Again, and I just thought the fact that they bring him in closer, we can see him, and then we're hiding him. Daniel Dae Kim, again, to have his presence there, and also to get the fangirling of it too, and stuff like definitely adding to amplifying just in terms of the charisma and the gravitas of this show, right? And but again, he definitely gives the physique, obviously, and I'm looking forward to when they get to 3 seasons and they pay it off correctly. Man, it's gonna be off the chain, seeing that live action, especially when Sozin Comic comes. But yeah, no, Ozai MVP. I'll say this: they nailed the Fire Nation as a whole in this show. I'll just say
definitely.
Let even go talk about Ozai. Let's talk about his grandfather, Fire Lord Sozin. how they start off this show with the massacre of the Airbenders off rip, right? We don't need to go to no flashback. We don't have to wait till season 3 of watching the flashback of how Sozin did it. Like, no, we're starting off rip. These guys are flying in the air because it's so, this comet season. And but yeah, they absolutely nailed the Fire Nation and the fire bending. Again, you talked about with Zuko with combat. He was the best in terms of choreography of bending I've seen this show. Again, like even like Aang, obviously with the agility of him, especially being an airbender and everything. I felt he did a good job with him on that. But the fire bending and the danger of it, I think, is also going to be unique when we move into parts of season 3 when they do it, of learning about fire bending. Say, hey, and then when Aang gonna have to learn fire bending, and now he's like, I don't want to do fire bending because it's a it hurts people, but no, it's like fire is life. Fire is a heartbeat. It's not just destruction, right? And that's where the original firebenders, the dragons, and stuff, where they learn their basic form of firebending. But yeah, before I get move forward, I want to address people in the chat because a lot of people commenting. Shout out to Team Fatty in the building. Shout out to Team Fatty. Shout out to Wally. Yeah, everybody's been pulling up. Yeah, I didn't expect. We just did this live random.
Hey, got the people coming out.
Yeah. But also, guys, make sure you go look in the link in the description. Have a link to all of Tevin's platform, YouTube, Spotify, everything. And also, he has a film coming out this year. Also, we'll talk about that. And then, shout out to I think I said Derpy's already in the chat too.
Hey, what's up, Derpy?
He said Mark Hamill was the voice of Ozai originally. Mark Hamill voice is iconic, but man, Daniel Dae Kim killed the role, and he sounded more menacing than Mark, in my opinion. Yeah, hey, I would say, because also as a part of when Zuko was at his bedside, and after he did what he did, and he's just now Zuko just emotionally numb, and then he's saying like, no, sometimes weakness can be strong. Like, no, I'm saying you out of Fire Nation. You're gonna no, you're gonna learn today,
Oh, you just reminded me of after the Siege of the North in the finale, when they told him that Zuko possibly died in that battle, and he's like, well, if he's weak, then you got to sacrifice the weak. I'm just like, oh man, this dude is fucking horrible.
Right. And I was just like, man, it was just cold-blooded. And I was like, man, and I didn't even like flinch. Like, I was like, man, that's some smooth stuff. But it's like, hey, and a good that he ain't my dad. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, man. And yeah. But no, yeah. And then it's like when actually I'll acknowledge it when I talk about the next character, because I think this character was one of my favorites, and I actually was surprised that she was one of my favorites. But we'll get into it. He said, I don't think that I'm more scared of Sozin than Ozai. Right? Yeah. Sozin was, he just took out Macchiazzo, and he pulled a Darth Vader moment, killing the children and stuff like that.
Yeah, pulled an Order 66 on him.
Yeah, Order 66 is candy ass. Mandrell said, I'm not done with it, but so far so good. I'm really enjoying the show. Yeah, see, listen, I as a critic, like, there's 3 sides of me, right? There's the movie critic side, there's the fan side, and then there's the film pundit side. A film pundit me is like understanding the industry, box office numbers, renewals, casting, all that stuff. This is stuff that I know and I study, right? And with this season is divisive, but it's not horrible. It's like, again, this is not no Cowboy Bebop. Ain't no, like, this ain't no 2010 Airbender. It's not Death Note. It's like, it's middle ground, which again, I think leads to potential to hopefully pay off a great second season if they learn from the constructive criticism that we're gonna definitely gonna get into. Cause we haven't even gotten to meet him yet. But yeah, Sozin was cooking. He said, literally love it. And shout out to Great Pill Podcast, man. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, now we're gonna get to the next character. Because after this, we're going to some of the things we didn't like, the structure of the show, or or even some moments we liked and stuff like that. We get to key moments after this last character, Azula. So I was actually concerned with this casting because this is one casting where it's like, how are you gonna put that in a live action stance? Because again, the voice actor has such a sinister, such a a pivotal tied to this character because of her voice, right? And I was like, can you get this from a and she's supposed to be 14. It was a grown-ass woman voicing this character, by the way. But like, how are you able to get this get this character paid off? And then also, we don't really get this character fleshed out in the original animated series until season 2, right? We see her in flashbacks, but we don't really get to see the full nature of her. And I think this is a part where I felt they did better than season 1 and actually made Zuko and Azula's storyline linked. Which before, yeah, they're brother and sister, they don't like each other, whatever. But this is the Game of Thrones type of sibling rivalry, heir to the throne, which is also I think on a creator standpoint is given someone who doesn't know know the show. Like, we all know, most people know Game of Thrones. We all like popular. But that's something familiar with, like, oh, I've seen Game of Thrones, so I understand, heir to the throne, what you do for, to kill things, do things to get to the throne, or pleasing, the parent, so way that you are tied to the, the rightful heir and all that stuff. But I think this was perfect. I think perfect setup for what she's going to be doing in season 2. And knowing what I know, what she does in the book 2, that they absolutely nailed the fact of, like, they build up to her character. And actually made me in this version more sympathetic for her, just like as I'm sympathetic for Zuko, because in the original series, I love her because she's evil. I hate her, but like this character, I actually feel sorry for her. And the fact that she have this strive for perfection. You see May and her friend in the background stuff. Which, by the way, I thought the line delivery in that was definitely they killed it with their roles on that. Like, the more I'm looking forward to season 2, but like especially May is like the Raven type personality, from Teen Titans. Like, they killed that. But I actually feel sorry for her, and because she's striving for perfection. And it was one line when May said that hey, you can't, Zula, you're perfect, and she's like, that's not good enough. Perfection is not even good enough for her, and that, which we know. If you know the character, that's lead to her demise when she crumbles, right? And but her building up to like fighting the firebenders, training, and even the way she was introduced, I thought was slick. I thought that was because we know, hey, she's good at camouflaging, and stuff. Mm-hmm. We know in the second book in the animated series, and it's like, hey, this is just building up to what she is. She can disguise herself. And I thought that was fire, no pun intended. But but like with her at the end, let's talk about elements. Like even the scene of, you saw a hint of the blue fire, because that was a big criticism of folks. Were like, "What? Hey, you better get my lightning and blue fire." No, they say
oh
that.
My God.
They
one
that
where
last episode.
That criticism was, I think, the criticism that was annoying me the most. Where's her blue fire? Where's her blue fire? I'm like, you guys do realize they implemented her into the story a lot earlier than in the original show. Like, obviously they're building up to that. So yeah, that just straight up annoyed me. Did you want me to get into my thoughts on her?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
So Michael, before the show started, I asked him a couple of questions, and he said, without spoiling, Tevin, Azula's introduction is amazing. And when I saw her introduction, I was like, Michael is right. Yeah, that was a great introduction. And also, like I said, man, back to Fire Lord Ozai, how he just straight up murders a group of people in front of his daughter like that is fucking crazy. But like, yeah, Azula's character in this version, I love that they're making her a lot more sympathetic. I mean, I did feel sympathy for her in the original, but in this version, they dialed up the sympathy a lot more. And actually, I, you know, I don't know. Maybe I'm just guessing very early, into later in the series. But I actually think they might do a redemption arc for her in season three. Because if they're trying to make her
Mm.
very sympathetic, I feel like, and this show obviously showed they're not afraid to make changes. I feel like with them making her more sympathetic, that we are probably going to get a redemption arc. Am I going to be disappointed if they don't do it? No, because we didn't get one in the original. But I do think that would be a welcome change if this is the direction they're taking, this new version of her character.
Yeah, and I think you say about possible redemption because again, like this show, which we'll get into in detail, I actually dive into comics, like
Hmm.
comics lore, right? And we know that Azula has a continuing story post, season three, and stuff like that. But again, I think that this is again just a good setup of her character and what she would do for the throne of becoming Fire Lord. Because there is something again. We already know what it is, but that at the end when Katara, I think Master Paco, I think that's his name, right?
Hmm.
That she received something from him that's tied to Azula, right? And me and Sam, if he was watching, we just saw that and was like, oh, okay, like because what you saw how they did it in the animated show, I was like, and then what they do with firebending in this show, I'm like, man, they straight might do do it way worse in
Yeah.
like in season two.
Pray for
Um,
Aang.
seriously. So I was like, man, I was like, well, I've seen okay, they're building up to her again. But also at the end, I liked how she took over Amashu. Like they again,
Yeah.
like we seen like season two, and then that was a big surprise when we saw like, oh, Amashu's taken by the Fire Nation, but like no, she conquered Amashu. Right now, even though we know Boomy, which we'll get into, like we know Boomy can get out of that situation real quick, but like he's like,
Yeah.
no, he's like now seeing Boomy on his knees and beating up, and Azula's right there in front of him. That is definitely a power move, and I actually like they're building off of that. Even as her helping Zhao, that was like that as her being like, I had a the heir to the throne is given to the sibling without the scar. It's like that,
Hmm.
and then showing the flashback that she was there, giving the information, gave her the archers and the assassins to assassinate Zuko and stuff. Definitely love that. But yeah, I was like at the end, and I was seeing that like you're building up to her because then it's like in the original show, she doesn't even break a sweat, in season two, like at all. She doesn't break a sweat. And I'm like, well, how does she get to that point? Because hey, we
Hmm.
all in this industry don't like, overly powered, female characters who have no explanation of how they get to being this overly powered character, right? We want to see the build up, right? But now when we get the build up, we won't complain about it. But yeah, I think what they did with her was great. But yeah, now side to I'm talking about Zul, that was the last in terms of specific character I want to tie to. Now I want to get to in terms of parts to show, which we can get to our cons, our positives and negatives. So, what is one aspect of the story that you liked that might have, that one you seen the live action telling of it, and one thing you may have like, I didn't like how they did this. Go ahead.
Do you want me to say like a specific episode or just like a
Just
thing
we
with
just
the
go
whole
off, yeah,
series?
whatever, man. But what's the first thing, Because we're gonna go random on this because I have a whole list. I have no order.
Um, Let me think about that. I guess I'll start with a con. I think my biggest con is how they, and this is actually a pro and a con. Like this show makes me feel weird because like there's things I'll complain about are also things that I'll praise in this version. Um, I some episodes I love the blending of storylines, and then in some moments I kind of hated how they did it. Um, Episode three, yeah, I don't really see a lot of people talk about episode three when they first get to Omashu. I think that was one of my favorite ways of how they blended the episodes, where like Aang
Yeah.
is doing his own thing, Katara is doing her own thing with Jet, Sokka is doing his own thing with the Mechanist, and how everything kind of ties back together at the end with Jet trying to, kill King Boomy and stuff like that, or set a bomb around him. And I felt like that was a great way. And not even just Avatar. I just love any shows that kind of do stuff like that, where everybody's doing their own thing, but then in the end they have to work together to stop something. I love shows like that and episodes like that. So I love some episodes where they blend things together, but then there was certain moments where like now personally me, I guess since I'm already on Omashu, I can say like one of the moments that kind of turned me off. I felt like they should have resolved the Jet storyline at the end of episode 3, but then
Yes.
at the end of episode 4, in like the first 10 minutes, that's kind of like the last time we see Jet. And I'm like, why didn't you guys do this at the end of episode 3 so that we can just focus strictly on Boomy? Like, I don't know. There was like things that I love that they mixed together and things that I hated. Kind of like what we said earlier, like one of the episodes and things that I loved a lot was how they, had Sokka and Katara come into the spirit world, and they added a lot of elements from what's the name of that episode when they were lost in the forest?
The Spirited Away episode.
Yeah, the Spirit Away episode. But I mean, like in the original book too, they added a lot
I know
of.
what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they added a lot of elements from that episode, and I was glad with how they pulled it off, because when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is new. Like, bring Sokka and Katara into the spirit world. Like, what are they gonna do
It's
with
the
it?"
winter. Is Winter Solstice Part 1.
Oh no, I'm thinking about the book 2 episode, the swamp. That's the episode I'm thinking about.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I noticed a lot of elements from the swamp in this episode when
Yeah,
they
because
went to the spirit
the
world.
village episode, like with Haybot,
Mhm.
came in. That was the Winter Solstice Part 1.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was. But you're absolutely right, because that's again, and we get into it because this is where we get to meet it, y'all. So yeah, clip it, put it on World Star, whatever, put it on TikTok, clip this, because this is where we get into it. And this is the push and pull I have with this show. Now, I was actually praising it was the Amashu episode where they were uniquely combining these episodes where you're giving, okay, well, you have to understand, this is part of Avatar is not just a destination, it's the journey, right? Same thing with Lord of the Rings, right? It's one thing where I can just get on the Eagles and fly them all the way up to, that end of Return of King, but it's part of the journey of actually walking through, which is one thing that Avatar builds up, which is character moments to help them solidify who they are. But on a Netflix adaptation of it, there's a way where you can speed it up, but still combine it, because they're either going to a village, going to a Fire Nation village, or something where they're interacting with characters and they're doing the same thing. So they were able to pay off the Jet storyline and the I forgot what's the guy, the engineer,
The Mechanist.
the Mechanist episode, like together, because they're both like, he serves the Fire Nation, he hates the Fire Nation, but it's like that. I thought that actually worked very well. Amashu is also in terms of the architecture of it, very unique. And I'm like, of course the mechanic guy would be in here. The train systems of Amashu when they're, and which I'm glad they wrote it. I'm glad they wrote it though. But even though like I wish again Aang was on it, but anyway, yeah, I thought I liked that. But then you're right with certain things with Jet, because again I didn't know who he. At first I'm like, who's the guy, like God, in his carriage and stuff like that, right? But then I'm like, okay, he had this thing with Katara. I was like, is it the son of the Earthbender? When they got trapped.
Haru. Yeah.
Haru. Is it Haru? Before he gets the goatee, where's his dad? All right, that's what I was thinking, right? And I was like, hold up now. And then when I saw him and he took Katara, like, oh, it's Jet. I was like, yeah, that was a good surprise. But I thought in terms of combat they did with Jet was good. But yeah, you're right. I think the structure where they should have had that storyline pay off her emotionally. Again, but not trust. But I think it was used because we have to get to Sokka and Katara going into the secret tunnel. Y'all, they did secret tunnel.
which I was so happy when they saw the Travelers and they were playing like
yes.
the song.
I was like,
I
yeah.
was so happy.
And like I was like, please sing the song, please sing the song. And it's like secret, And then like I was getting on Sam's nerves, got from my team JVS, and when we were reacting to it, I was like, no, I was like, well, why are you getting happy about Secret Tunnels? And then they sing the song. It's like, no, you understand? Like, I know where they're going, because when the kid said, hey, there's a secret tunnel intersection under a Mashu, people go through it all the time. And I was like, oh, yeah, the secret tunnel. I never even thought of that. But yeah, I thought that was yeah, it put a smile. Yeah, it did definitely put a smile on my face and everything. But when it came to Boomy, so this is the part now. I liked how Boomy looked and everything. I was like, okay, the crazy side of him, whatever. But here is the problem. The whole point of Boomy was the fact that now he technically is the only friend alive from 100 years ago. And Aang did not know who he was. And he was playing games to find out who Boomy was. And then, they braced that, that friendship again. And then he still gave him wisdom, saying, hey, you need to go, master all elements and everything. But he still gave, like, hey, I'm still a kid here. Like, I'm still your old friend. But what we got here was different. We got was off rip. He said, yeah, hey, it's me, Aang. They're like, Boomy? Like, yeah. And it's like, we don't see Flopsy. No, okay. I mean, I understand, like, I was like, you're in the freaking, pit, and we don't see Flopsy at all. Okay. You don't give us you show us a little quick, explanation of the candy rock candy, whatever, but not knowing, again, Sokka in that, but because they're out in the secret tunnel together, which is another issue I have. Yeah, so they go in there, and basically he's mad at Aang for leaving, and basically giving him a game. And I'm like, all right, he understands his burden of being the Avatar and stuff, and then he kept going on, and it kind of felt a little bit redundant. Like, dude, what are you trying to prove? Are you just lashing out your anger on this kid that that left and everything? And then at the end, somehow Sokka and tackled Boomy, and Katara came in to save. I'm like, who he just tackled the second greatest earthbender in this show, but I was like, wait, hold up now. I was like, come on, hold the phone. But yeah, go. What's your thoughts on Boomy?
If there was any character that I was pissed off at how they did, it was Boomy. I felt like he was so mean-spirited in this version. It's like he was just talking hella shit on Aang, and like, okay, trying to see it in their point of view. I can somewhat get that he is a king that had to go through 100-year war, and he had to probably think about how is he going to keep like people in his civilization alive. Like, I can see in that aspect. But that just the way they did him was just like they just missed the point of Boomy in general. Because yes, Boomy had games and he was challenging Aang, but like you said, he gave him a lot of wisdom. And actually, I was fine with Aang knowing that was Boomy from the start. Like, I was fine with them acknowledging each other. But I wish the games and challenges that he put Aang through in this version wasn't so mean spirited. If anything, I kind of wish they wrote it to where it was like, he challenges Aang, and then at the end, he reveals that he never really had malicious intent. He just wanted to see where he's at as the Avatar and probably go ahead and like give him wisdom based off everything he's seen. Like, if you guys are gonna do it like that, where they acknowledge each other, at least still have that aspect. But just Boomy just felt so mean spirited, and I'm just like, okay, like maybe somebody out there likes this new version of Boomy, but me, I don't. I really don't.
Especially like knowing what he's tied to, like down the road, and who he's a part of. I'm like, how is this guy, part But yeah, that was something for me. But he said this episode of Boomy didn't make sense. They saved Boomy, leave with the spies flushed out. Jack has a squad Jet has a squad lurking in literal bushes, and Boomy doubles the guards, just waiting for smoke. Somehow, Yeah, because that was just built up again. We didn't know who. I mean, for storytelling, we're building up to get introduced to Boomy. We think this is the old guy who's the king. So that was the whole point where he revealed himself and stuff like that. And yeah, I was just really just kind of conflicted, man. I was like, and this is one of my favorite episodes in season 1. And I was like, well, Boomy, I was like, okay, you supposed to teach him the lesson, like again, going how games serve a purpose, but it adds the character youthfulness of the show, situational humor, but also serve to like, hey, I'm trying to remind yourself, hey, I'm your friend 100 years ago, and I just want to play with you, stuff, right? But that was just a nitpick. But again, I think not a nitpick. I actually think it's a legit like, hey, this is something that aspect you kind of just took away that was very valuable. So that was just mine. My point at so how the Fire Nation just take over. Now we know he let you Great Pill, you saw the show, why he surrendered at the end. But yeah, anyway, but with that was another thing. Now going into another part, Kyoshi Island. Let's go to Kyoshi Island, which was the start of me liking this show. Let's talk about another character, Suki, who I actually enjoyed, except for one moment that she did. But what was your thoughts on Kyoshi Island, overall? But what was your thoughts on Suki? That we didn't get Suki in the 2010 version, so this is the first live action depiction of Suki. So,
to be honest, the Kyoshi episode is another episode I don't really have much issues with. Suki, I felt like they did her character justice in this version. It wasn't. I should say like she was good, but it wasn't nothing that I have that many thoughts about. Like it was just simply good. The only thing that I wish they did, like as far as the whole Kyoshi episode, I wish they saved this for after he met Roku. Like I wish he met Roku first. I like, don't get me wrong, I like Kyoshi. I really do like Kyoshi, but in my opinion, I feel like Aang should have talked to Roku first. That was my only gripe with the episode.
Yeah. So aside from that, I actually enjoyed Suki. I thought she did a great job. I think again the relationship between her and Sokka, I like seeing that again. They definitely gave good chemistry of attraction, but I think the one thing was she made out with him at the end. That was one pet peeve I had a little issue with, because like, no, you kissed him on the cheek and you walked away, like because they were fleeing the fire. They're fleeing from the Fire Nation, and it wasn't until he ran into you in season 2 or Earth the book 2, where after Sokka experienced I forgot her name, the moon spirit. That's then he made the decision to kiss her, right? Because he's like, no, because Suki's like, want to have a relationship with Sokka, but Sokka's reserved because of that. And now we're watching this show, and we'll get into that about her at the end. It kind of just okay. He's just getting some ass, and every he gets into, you know what I mean? Like that's just like, and even though I like the Suki relationship more than I like the Water Tribe relationship with the princess, it still was like, hey, come on, save that. And they're like, no, you just had instant retraction to him, and you just kissed him, and while your mama's standing there, and it's okay.
I did find that weird that the mama was just sitting there watching them about to kiss. I'm like, I don't know. That episode has some things where it's like little things that I'm not gonna go off about, but at the same time, it's like, I wonder why you made that. Like you said with the kiss, it was like, I'm not mad at it, but I just wonder why y'all did that.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, it was, to me, it just wasn't needed. I'm not saying like end all be all. I was like, okay, they didn't really need a kid. Like, we know they're gonna end up. Together, but it's just to pay off later. But it just, But again, you want to get all your ducks in a row. But I want to talk about Avatar Kyoshi, because they went heavy on Kyoshi in this show. They like I guess like the fan or the showrunners, like, you know what my favorite avatar is? Aang, not even Roku. Fuck that dude. Let's talk about Kyoshi. Like that's because even like the first episode when the intro, and when I saw Kyoshi, I saw this scene. I saw it. I was excited. I was that. Now, this were parts where Kyoshi again tall as hell, right? Again, but still representing the hard, strong avatar, and the one who separated, who created I forgot what was the Kyoshi Island away from the the Earth nation, the Earth capital or whatever, from an evil tyrant. Like they showed a picture in the background. Did you see? Yeah. So that was So that was one of my favorite moments. Again, representing, honoring Kyoshi. I do like the ties of like even when you're next to a temple, is like the eyes automatically glow because the avatars there. Like, okay, that's easy to identify. Like what I mean. But I enjoy Kyoshi for most part. But now there's another. Okay, this I want to know what your perspective on this is. That how did you feel about the Avatar state relationships of previous avatars in this show? Because I have my opinions, but I want to know yours.
Like what aspect do you mean of that?
So how do you felt the relationship of the past lives, how the advice that Kyoshi gave to Aang, the 2-minute conversation that Aang had with Roku, the conversation he had with Avatar was not Yan Chen, that's the Last Airbender.
Karuk.
Karuk, right, from the Water Tribe. Right. How did you feel what that relationship was? Because I have my points on that, but
okay. It's funny because I feel different about all the interactions Aang had with them. Kyoshi, like that conversation, that was one of the scenes where I felt like they were like telling us too much about Aang being like worried about his job and stuff like that. But ultimately, I mean, I felt like it kind of made sense, even though I'm not really sure about the execution that much. Like, it kind of made sense because I mean, we know Kyoshi is more of a headstrong, like, type of avatar. Like, it is what it is to her. So, and and didn't she yell at him?
yeah, they both
Yeah.
two avatars did. Both yelled at him.
Kyoshi yelling at him made more sense. Well, Karuk somewhat made sense, but like, yeah, Kyoshi yelling at him kind of made sense. Roku, um, can I be real? When I saw that scene,
Go ahead. No. Go ahead. I'm right. I have different feelings with each of them too, but go ahead.
I didn't feel it was as serious as it should have been. I felt like he was a little too jokey. And where was the explanation of Sozin's comet? Because wasn't he the one that warned Aang about Sozin's comet?
Yes, he was the one.
Yeah,
and I don't think Sozin comet was even mentioned to him in this season. He didn't mention
actually, yeah, no, it wasn't.
they didn't mention the Sozin comet to Aang at all. Even when he went into the at the end of the winter solstice, when he, again, there's the parts where they switch up moments. Now, the whole part of Kyoshi possessing Aang, all right, I don't have issue with that, but just how much they relied on it is saying that, hey, you're gonna take out that scene where Avatar Roku taking over Aang in front of while Zhao and everybody's outside trying to open the door with firebending, and now just here we go after the whole 2-minute conversation with Roku, getting basically the same advice you got from Kyoshi, whatever. You can't trust on anybody. You must do this on your own and blah blah, right? And then the guy, the servant to the temple, to the Fire Nation temple, they just all killed each other, or no, they didn't kill each other. It was May. That took him out. Which by the way, I actually liked her. I liked her in this. She was good. But again, she was never there at all. It was just kind of jarring to see, like, wait, how the fuck you get in this damn temple? You know, where's the Fire Nation shit? It's a fucking island. How did you get here? Like,
Yeah.
June. It was June. Thank you. Yeah, May was yeah. It was June. I was like, wait, hold up. How did you get here? But yeah, the possessing of they relied more on Kyoshi in this series than Roku. That was thinking like that was a pet peeve of mine. Like, this is this was the avatar that led to Sozin abominating the eradication of the airbenders. And it's like, that was a big one. Well, and listen, I actually didn't mind the kiddiness of him because I even understand this is his past lives, right? Of Aang. But the fact that you don't have that relationship to build off, like what Roku's always been, that guiding light. It wasn't until, because the wrestling of past avatars, like this stuff, this doesn't happen until like the end of the series. When right before you get ready to face Fire Lord Ozai, he's talking about, I don't want to take a life. He's talking to all the past avatars, and they're all giving different answers. And with this, it's like you're just talking to past avatars about just being the avatar, like it not nothing about a huge thing that each of them differently responded to. They're all like really not giving you any good answers. And I felt this is not what the avatar state really is like. Aside from just having ultimate power, it really didn't give, I think, in this season, the emotional weight of like, hey, this is a resource you can use. Not just a get out of jail free card, but also a spiritual connection of wisdom. I didn't feel that way in this season personally. I just felt hey, here's your okay, your PX meter got reached max. All right, enter press your counter move, whatever, like when you have to build up a certain move in a video game, and then when you got the enough meter, then you push it. All right, avatar state, I'm out. That's basically what it was, a power move in this, not a spiritual.
I was gonna say, like, the only moment, or like the only past avatar that he talked to that I felt some type of like feelings from was when he talked to Karuk, when he was trying to ask for help when it came to like fighting off the Fire Nation when they were about to attack. I felt the emotion in that scene, but for the most part, I kind of felt like how you felt. Like it didn't feel like nothing but a power boost in this show. And just like you said, I feel like we were robbed of seeing Roku help Aang out of that Fire Nation temple. Because like, how are y'all going to it? Like, how are y'all going to set up that Aang can basically call on these past avatars when they get to their shrines and temples, but yet you didn't give us that scene with Roku? I felt like that was a missed opportunity right there.
Now that was one thing, but now this is one part. We talk about June. I like June, that like her in there, and I think she utilized just enough in this. But I want to talk about the Spirit Away episode, which is one of my favorites, right? Because guys, spoiler. Listen, I'm trying to find the image when they did it. Because let's start with the first of all, the visual effects in the show is fire. But how they did Haybot, I thought was great. Now we didn't see him transition to a polar bear. And also they put that's the thing. They had the moment where he put the acorn in just to regrow, but like that was a part of Haybot turning into the polar bear. Like that was the whole part, right? That he made peace and then he released everybody. But the thing about it was that it wasn't him that was taking over the people. It was, hold on, let me get this scene right here. I'm trying to find it because it was just like this one moment, and I had to appreciate the director, whoever directed this episode, because I was in this scene and I was like, okay, they're combining stuff, whatever. I actually thought it was kind of like weird that Katara and Sokka went into the spirit world with him. Because I'm like, that's not how the Force works. But I'm like, hey, let me just, hold on, let me try to find this scene. I'm trying to find it because, man, I'll just use this one because it's scary as hell. Listen, when the camera panned and we're seeing all these people's flashbacks and stuff, right? And you saw, and when you saw this, when you saw the face popped up of Ko, the face stealer, right? Literally, that moment when I was watching it, I was like this.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm.
Wait.
Everybody calm down.
Because I remember I had that, because I don't think my camera was on, but my mic was on when I was watching my friends. But like, it was just like when the camera panned, it was with Katara with her mother and stuff, right? And she's hiding from the Fire Nation, or the Southern Raiders, right? That killed Katara's mom. But then you see the camera pan at her as a little girl, and he's like, "Well, what's going on?" And why I see a white face, and you see the eyes, the face is like, I was like, "Oh shit!" And then everybody's like, "Mike, what's going on?" I was like, and I really got up. I was walking like, "Oh man, I didn't even know he was in." I totally forgot he was in this damn show. But what was your thoughts on Ko, the face stealer, in this? Because like, definitely it was terrifying in this in the animated series, but the fact I get to see that in live action, but the way they did it, that was fire. Yeah.
Well, I'm a big horror guy, so yeah, I felt I felt a lot of horror elements when I felt a lot of horror elements when Ko came in, and I did love how they turned the Firebender's face into Ko, and Katara's flashback and stuff like that. Overall, I liked how they had Ko in the show. The only thing is, now, Mike, you might have to correct me if I'm wrong, but in the original show, didn't he steal faces if you showed emotion?
Bruh. I had it right here. Listen,
Yeah, that was literally my only gripe with Ko.
And Aang is just sitting up there, just showing fear, showing all this stuff, just like, just, hey, what's going on here? I'm like, dude, like, I was like that was my moment. I was like, nigga, like, dude, like, it's like, dude, like, seriously, like, calm down. And then like everybody in the call, like, it was like, Mike, what are you talking about? No, it's like, okay, I didn't want to be that guy, but yeah, I had to be that guy. Like I was like, babe, like when he show your emotion, he just, like he takes your face. It's like just like,
Yeah, for people that never
go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. I was just gonna say, for people that never seen the original, I can see how they have no problem with it. But for people like us that knows the original, that loves like stuff in the lore of it, it's kind of like, I'm not mad, but that is a glaring issue to me.
Right. Yeah, because like that was just a pivotal part. Even when he was supposed to find a spiritual connection to, in the Northern Water Tribe, which is how we find, the yin and yang, of the earth and of the moon spirit and the water spirit and everything, that whole relationship. But it's like, he was searching the spirit world, and Haybot came in and showed him where he can give the answers to, and it was Ko, the face stealer, who revealed, saying like, hey, these are the water spirits of the Northern Water Tribe and stuff. And then he told him the story about taking the face of the previous avatar, which we saw, which they showed, and I'm glad they emphasized that. But which is why, like, he said, hey man, I'm not helping you. I've already fucked with spirits too many times. They took my girl face. I'm out. I'm not. And then it also added to the whole thing about his blade. Like, hey, you have this blade, you can kill spirits and stuff like that. Which I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm like, okay, that's another way of expanding the lore. I guess you can. Like, he was a spirit that he was Avatar, where he was like the go with the flow Avatar, where he didn't give, he wasn't taking his role responsibility well, and therefore he lets it dramatic consequences, and he just kept messing with spirits to the point like, hey, we don't fuck with Avatar, at least that specific Avatar. But yeah, I just thought that was a scene where, like, if that rule applies about stealing faces, Sokka and Katara have been fucked. Like,
yeah,
Like you took the most vulnerable moment ever, which we wouldn't have gotten until season 3. Which in season 3 and everything. But then it's like, oh, you just use that just to get okay. You know what? It's different, but
when that first happened to Katara, because I think that was who Ko interacted with first in this version.
Yes.
I was thinking that they were going to do a plot line where Aang would have to find a loophole to save Katara and Sokka from Ko, like as far as like stealing faces. But once I saw they weren't doing that, I'm like, oh, well, I mean, okay, like.
Yeah.
Like I said before, this is a new version, so that was something where I'm not mad at it, but it's like it's something to point.
Now, going on to that, because there's a lot of things they changed up. I want to know, how'd you feel when you saw this?
Oh boy. Don't get me wrong. What's the name of the owl again? I forget his name.
I'm drawing a blank. I'll find it. But it's the same voice actor who voiced him.
Okay. Well, even though I don't know his name, I'll say my opinion on him. I was glad to see him because a lot of people might not know the library is actually one of my favorite episodes of season 2. So I was glad to see him, but then I kind of got worried at the same time because I'm like, are they?
It's Wan Shi Tong.
Wan Shi Tong. Okay.
Yeah.
I was glad to see him, but I also got worried because I'm like, so are they not going to do the library episode? Because that's like one of my favorite episodes of season 2.
Right, like that. That's a pivotal episode of Team Avatar. Like, I was just like, okay, because that was the point. Like, everybody had to mute my mic because when I saw him, I was like, what the fuck? I was amazed at one because I think like we're in the spirit world. Then we see this fox, and I'm like, okay, oh, that's the fox from the library. But I'm like, wait, why she has this locket on her tail? And then it's like, oh, it's the girl from the moon spirit. Why is she a fox? Like,
yeah, I was confused too. I was like,
why is she a fox? Like,
did Sokka actually do the cactus juice in the spirit world?
In the spirit world, right? He was already zoned out as it is, right? But I was like, yeah, why did But no, you're right. Like the owl, Wan Shi Tong is like the desert episode is pivotal in season 2. Like with Toph, which we'll get into, but like Appa, like again, like that's a turning point of the show. Honestly,
not even just that, but even they find out the day of Black Sun on that episode too.
Exactly, they find out about the comic, but this is him in the animated, like literally textbook, like the same height. Like I was like, oh my god! But then also it goes against character. Why is he helping them?
Yeah, that is an aspect I didn't think about. That is true.
Like, why is he, of all the spirit animals, whatever? Why is he helping them? And he just, again, this is the part where, again, the creators talk about creative differences. Now, I don't know if this is one of the decisions I will walk off because now you're messing with spirits. Like now it's like, yeah, you messing with the Holy Spirit of Avatar. I ain't fuck with this. I'm out. I'm making my movies and stuff. I'm gonna get this shit right. But nah, this you put one of our most pivotal characters in season of the second book, and you just want to put him in for a 2-second cameo scene. Visually, he looks great, but I'm like, even up the scale and everything. But I'm like, hey, I would have saved that for.
You can tell they kind of did that a little bit as fan service. You can kind of tell.
Yeah, I was just like, oh man, but then because then you're gonna have to pay that off for like in season 2, like, hey, you helped us out. And but like, no, I can't help you unless you give me some knowledge. Like, well, we didn't give you knowledge the first, season 1.
Yeah, that's gonna feel like a different character at that point.
Right. So yeah, I don't like that's I'm like, why was it a fox? There's no foxes in the water tribe, even as a spirit animal. Like, like to the water, like about all the animals you could be tied to spirit, and you're the moon spirit. Why are you a fox or a wolf? I guess. I mean, I guess they howl anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, but no, I was just like, yeah, no, in the chat, but let's check in the chat real quick. But yeah, can we get into it now? Yeah, man, I was like, that was the main thing. Like, hey, come on, you're taking a logic here. He said, I don't recall June flirting with Uncle so much, especially over money. Now it's funny how they switched that because Ira was kind of feeling her in the animated series, right?
More than feeling.
Like, I mean, seriously,
thirsty.
right? But then in this, it's like, no, she just has a thing for older guys and whatever. Like, okay, cool, all right. I'm glad you didn't put. And I don't understand now because we're in a different time now. I'm glad you didn't put that where it's like, oh, you know, yeah. I understand why they did that. But yeah, what was over here? Yes, talking about the spirit, switching of spirits and stuff. Yeah, I didn't like it. Yeah, that was one I was like, come on now. But he said, I've seen the original so many times it burns in my memory. Yeah, I know this like this textbook to me. So yeah, Wan Shi-tan should have been saved for season 2 because there's too many things going on in the spirit world in this episode. Yeah, like
yeah.
I mean, on the one hand, ain't like Katara and Sokka shouldn't even be in the spirit world, but on the other hand, like this is a journey for Aang again for Roku to it's something coming through. But they just took it for a 2-second scene now talking about explaining the lore. Were you aware of the Mother of Faces spirit?
No.
So they said Roku, like, yeah, the face stealer, he's gonna take all your keep all these faces unless you give something back to him, because honestly he longs something that we all long for, which is family, and it's the Mother of Faces. And if you read the comics, the Mother of Faces is actually tied to Zuko's mother.
Okay. Now that you said that, I can remember.
Right, but it wasn't in the animated show; it was in the comics, in the book and in the comics later. But I was like, well, the Mother of Faces, that's tied to Zuko's mother, which I thought that was interesting. That is the mother of the face stealer, and it kind of makes sense, But yeah, that was kind of there. But I'm trying to think what anything else I've. Okay. Go back to Amashu. The tunnel love, the lovers and the stuff like that, right? That is a very pivotal scene for Aang and Katara to flourish in the future. But they used it and they replaced it for Katara and Sokka brother and sister relationship, even though I know they love each other, but still, like, we could have gotten this in another episode. And plus the poem, the curse, whatever you call it, of the what was it? What were the Earthbenders?
I forget the name of the poem, yeah, but I know what you mean.
The Oma and Shu, it's Oma Shu, right? But I'm talking about the blind, the creatures, each creature,
the badger moles or something like that.
The badger moles, right. The whole tunnels was tied to about lovers, not family love, but about romantic lovers, right? So it's like, and then we get one scene where Aang is like, thank you, Katara, for taking me to the Northern Water Tribe. You're welcome, buddy. That's Ember Island. That's the Ember Island play.
Oh, man.
Where it's like, yeah, thank you for taking me there. And I don't know, because like he is 12 and she's like freaking 15, 16 years old. I don't know. But it was just like, I felt that was a one big con, was like they took that moment away for them. For me personally, I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, remember when we talked on the phone before, when I was like, there's something I want to know about Aang and Katara, but I don't want to. I want to be surprised. First off, let me say this. I'm Team Katang. Like, I've always been for Aang and Katara being together. And I did acknowledge that, like, as far as the casting, like, maybe it might be a little weird for like, this for them to be together or have hints or be flirty with each other in season one. So I did, reserve my expectations, but well, okay. I'll say this: the cave. If they weren't going to do it with Aang and Katara, they might as well just have not did it at all. As much as I love the callback with with the travelers and they were singing Secret Tunnel, as much as I love that callback, if they weren't going to do it with Aang and Katara, like why even have it at all? Right now, Aang and Katara's relationship does feel very friendly, and I'm hoping as the actors grow up and they're able to do more stuff like that, maybe we'll get more of that relationship. But I don't know. I just in the original show, some people felt like they felt more like friends or brother and sister, and right now that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from them. Aside from like maybe one scene, I just felt like they were just another brother and sister.
If you want to make that scene a romantic scene, you could. But then, yeah, due to the circumstances, you're a little bit too late, sweetheart.
And also, the only thing I was thinking when I saw that they put Katara and Sokka in the cave of two lovers, I was just like, y'all were just trying to find ways to have Sokka and Katara do something while Aang was with Boomy. Like that's all I kept thinking.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I honestly think they could because this is the thing. I think this show could have probably done better if it had 12 episodes instead of 8.
Thank you. I feel like that's my biggest criticism, because usually Netflix gives like 10 episodes to shows. Why didn't they do 10? Because then y'all would have had more time to, flesh things out. I don't know. I just felt like season 2, that's one of my biggest things on the wish list. Give it at least 10 episodes.
Yeah, because I'm like, I'm talking about, you want to talk about budget, there are scenes where does not need to require any visual effects or anything, but just having time to sit with the characters that Lily would add to probably maybe about 40 or 60% of what folks are complaining about right now. And it's simple. And I think, again, that's just a creative decision, which I like. Again, I have to be honest with you. This is the first time where I'm thinking why the creators left is actually I believe them. Because usually it's always messy reasons. Like, for example, you have the whole thing with Scream, the girl Jenna Ortega, whatever. After the main girl, she got fired. She automatically left, and then the response was, "Oh yeah, I got a Wednesday season 2 scheduling." Nah, sis, you trying to stay? You trying to back your homegirl up, rightfully so and everything. So but we know the real answer, right? So, but usually it always in the industry is saying, "Oh, we left for creative differences," but like, no, scheduling, you didn't pay me, pay me my money, or hey, I don't like direction this character and stuff, or controversy on set, and they just dipped. But I don't know. Again, a lot can happen in 2.5 years, like the relationship, forgiveness and everything and all that stuff. Like, hey, listen, we probably didn't let you guys party, but if there's a possibility that the creators come back for season 2, maybe, because I think they have to be. You want to talk about if they are crucial on casting, they have to be present for one particular character, right? It's like because I don't want just anybody just to fuck this character up. But we'll get into it when we talk about building up for season 2. But yeah, that's you're right. I just think that this can survive. I'm trying to think again, anything negative, or not say any negative or anything I left out, because that was a big thing. Oh yeah, how okay, the first episode, which is the biggest pill people gotta swallow. First of all, let me pull up the picture, because I even said it before we got this call. Was it hang on? Okay, because there's certain rules of bending that people want to change and all stuff, like later we're gonna get metal bending, blood bending, and all stuff like that, whatever, but there was something that Aang did in the first episode, where I actually had some questions, but now at first, again, it's the first episode, just me seeing anything of this show. But right here, let me get this, because and now for us Avatar people who watch Korra, we already know what's up. The nigga flying. He's flying. I was like, that's not like, no, that's not how post like you flying. And not like he just, has like a, little hesitation and how he is on the ground. Like he can shoot up, let's say he sneezes, he go up 60 feet in the air and come back down gracefully because the airbender. No, he is legit flying in this. And I was like, now I was like, but then mind you, I'm like, let me not nitpick this mess on the first episode. But now I'm like, now after seeing the whole thing, like, okay, can I at least just acknowledge that? Like we both can see.
I will say this. I'm not as mad as I've seen a lot of people online about it, but that was also one of those decisions where I was like, oh that's a choice, like I'm not mad about it, but I'm like, okay, so dudes can fly now. Okay.
Aang was channeling here. Like he was channeling his here. But how do you feel about certain? Now we got to be close to like wrapping it up. Like, what was some of your thoughts on the visual effects? Because there were some scenes, visual effects, and especially episode 1 that looked a little jarring to me. But I just want to know, just like also because you're a director, like what is your aspect of what you probably noticed that they could have worked on, because they put a huge budget on the show. Like, but I just want to know, like, what was your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I just want to say real quick, like that was actually one of my biggest concerns with Netflix doing this remake or this adaptation of it, because Netflix in the past has canceled so many shows for budget reasons. And I told you this, how they canceled the Get Down, that still hurts me. And they say that the reason for canceling the Get Down was budget. And I was like, how, if their problem is apparently always budget, how are they going to do Avatar? Because you got to think of, yeah, perfect. You got to think about Appa, Momo, all the spiritual creatures, like, and even bending. I was like, how are they going to get it? And I actually loved how everything looked in this show. The only CGI character that probably had to grow on me was Ko, but besides that, everything, in my opinion, felt perfect. Appa was good. Momo is like cute as hell. I love Momo's design in this version. As I would say, probably my favorite CGI is the bending, because like it just looks very real, especially the bending for the Fire Nation. Like the fire effects and even Azula's lightning and blue fire looks so perfect. So visually, I have no problems at all. Like I said, Ko, and maybe there's things I'm probably not remembering. There's probably some things they need to work on, but for the most part, overall, I have no complaints as far as CGI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought again overall, like the fact that because this is a big scene right here. And the reason why I said that, hold on, let me see here. What's the season 1 finale? It basically the scene, and I was like, and now this is the kind of part that I kind of teared up on, because like I always want to see this live action.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I always want to see live action, and I thought they did in a great, just in a great way. Was it right here? Pull it up here. Yeah, right here. This was I cried, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like this there's not no gigantic wave.
Yes.
Letting the tsunami just take over these shit. No. I'm getting in this spirit, and I'm and I'm coming and I'm hauling ass. I'm crossing this bridge and I'm fucking up all of y'all. Right, because I'm pissed. My other half is dead. I fuck all of y'all, So yeah, I was happy with this. I teared up because like, please get this right. Please get this right. And I was like, all right, cool. And that after that moment, because I called, like I recorded myself and I called and I sent you that video. Like, dude, they did it. Like it was that moment. Because you heard him in the background.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I was like, bro, they did it.
When I saw that scene, I was smiling hard as hell. I was actually clapping. I was like, bro, it's not a big fucking wave. Like I
Right.
was so happy it wasn't like, well, obviously I knew they were going to stay more true to it in this version, but like just even visually and just how it like how they executed it, it was just so good. Like it was better than I could have expected, to be honest. Like I love how they did that in the finale. And personally, and I know I'm probably jumping ahead when I say this, but the finale is up there for one of my favorite episodes of the season. So, and that
Yeah.
scene is a big contribution to it.
Yeah. We totally forgot one character, Zhao.
Mhm.
Because that also this spirit, the ocean or moon spirit, is tied to him. How did you feel that in terms of how he was overarching the season to perform the actor, but and obviously his ultimate demise because it ended up differently than it did in the
Mhm.
show. But yeah,
Um, Zhao, I didn't really have too much thoughts on, and the funny thing is, all my thoughts on Zhao really has to do with other characters, like how they implemented him into Azula storyline in this version. I liked it a lot, but it didn't make me like Zhao more. It made me like Azula more. So I mean, I don't have too much thoughts on Zhao. It's just, I guess I can say like he was just a fine, part of the series. Like I don't have strong feelings, but he was fine, but I liked basically how they tied him in with Azula and how you said he got taken out. Didn't Iroh take him out in this version? If I can remember. Yeah.
yeah, he
Uh
straight up killed his ass.
yeah. And who was it in the original that did?
It was the moon spirit. It took him.
Okay.
It
Okay.
was Aang.
I will say, yeah, Iroh doing
And
the
it
like
was Zuko that's offered to help him.
mhm.
And Zhao refuses.
Okay, now I can remember.
Yes.
Yeah, now I remember. Um, in this version, well, first off, that fight scene between Zuko and Zhao, I was sitting there like Zuko beat his ass. Like, yo, I was so hyped to see that fight. But for Iroh to do it, I'm not gonna lie, that's another one of those moments where I was like, that's a decision, but I'm not really mad about it, but it's a
Yeah.
decision.
Right, because it's like, mind you, like they didn't have the iconic. I mean, because that's also a part. They didn't have the iconic Agni Kai scene where
Hmm.
Zuko, bested, bested Zhao and stuff, and then Iroh intervened, but he didn't kill him. It just, but that again, he was a lot. I think again, a lot less menacing, I will say, in this version because there wasn't really no link to I'm a rival for Zuko. No, he's just being a thorn in his back right now. But
Yeah.
that's really what's going on. But again, I thought the way they he served a purpose, and then you only get a cameo in like Legend of Korra and stuff, but like where he goes, right? Also, him learning about the moons, like again, which is why they should have kept the owl spirit for desert episode because that's they took out
Mhm.
no a Fire Nation guy just told him, oh yeah, there's a spirit right here, and this is the knife of Avatar, that pierces spirits and everything. Like no, like that's a big. There's a reason why he doesn't trust humans is because of Zhao and spirit.
Yeah.
Like that's yeah, but I didn't lastly before we get into terms of about next season, I was also the nostalgia part. They were quoting lines word for word, and I don't know if you noticed it. Like even then,
Oh,
like there was like one part where Aang is just saying like, "No, this is not over," and then like Iroh saying, "You take that on spirit, I will beat you tenfold." As like, and then even then, what was it? Well, I was trying to remember the scene. Was it Iroh? Was it Zuko? You got the cabbages line. You got the cabbage man
mhm.
finally there. I'm trying to remember. It was like they literally just straight conversations. I just remember they had it word for word. It's just like wasn't for I think it was for the no, it was for the Northern Water Tribe when he was talking to Paco about as Katara word for saying
Mhm.
that saying hey that's another thing I didn't like that the how they ended because they totally forgot. Hey, by the way, you have a necklace that I carved for your grandmother, and I'm just gonna let you win because you bested me and I respect you. No. You're tied to a woman I love that walked away. But anyway, that's another thing. But no, there was like conversations of like even with Gran that they had in the first few episodes that was just like worth. She set the entire intro.
Michael, when I said questionable dialogue choices when I
Yes.
messaged you, okay. Some people have a problem with retelling the story at the beginning. I don't have that much of a problem with it. Where I did have a problem is in certain lines in episode one where they were obviously retelling like the intro to the old series. The way they implemented it sometimes felt so corny to me. Like the
Yes.
scene when Aang was talking to Gran in the hut, and then she started saying like half of the beginning of the intro.
The whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, oh God, it really just sounds like she's reading like this off a piece of paper. Like they pulled up on
And she's
set
looking
with
up the
the
screen,
intro.
just like,
Yeah, like the
oh,
delivery
no.
of it just. Uh,
And everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Only the Avatar mastered all 4 elements. He can stop them. But when the world needed him most, he vanished. And then he's in the, just like
and
she
then
read the script and she's looking to the camera.
and then
What I mean?
they somewhat do it again with Sokka later. I think right before the Fire Nation pulls up to the Southern Water Tribe, I think that it was. Um, Before the Fire Nation even pull up, doesn't Sokka say something like, "Yeah, the Avatar, when the world needed him most, he vanished," or something like that? I
Just
remember him saying
recapping it
something like
again,
that,
just like.
and I was just like, "Please stop!" Like it
But
just sounds
listen, how many
corny.
times? How many times have Qatar did it? But this is my thing. Listen, they had the whole. They kept the end the end credit music.
Hmm.
All right, cool. I like that. I respect. But if you want to be authentic, just say because listen, we don't have to have Qatar, the voice actress. The actor, to keep saying it over an episode and see the intro because we got him on the air sphere and did and then they recreated the scene of him on top of the hill and then
Hmm.
the camera pans to the sunset and everything. I was like that was epic. Well, I like that, just saying that. But definitely the visual effects is a little bit like questionable, but with the terms of formatting of the episodes, they could have simply just said previously on the Avatar, and then just leave it at. Just leave
Yeah,
that, and then keep the end credits and then we can just skip the long ago when the Avatar. Just we can skip that. But yeah, you can just the previously on the Avatar. That's that's a
bro.
little.
You just reminded me of something because like I said, I was rewatching the show these past couple of weeks on Paramount Plus, and they actually cut out the previously on Avatar on the Paramount Plus version, and it made me so mad every
Oh
time I started a
really?
new episode. Yeah, it made me so mad every time I started a new episode because I'm sitting there reciting the intro to myself, and then where previously on Avatar shows up, I'm ready to say previously, and then it just cuts straight to the episode. And you can literally see the edit where they just cut that part out. And I was like, oh
Yeah,
man,
but
oh
no, I
man.
again, creative decision. But as we are ready to wrap this up, I just want to know the next conversation is will this get a season 2? Because we see, we've went in on this show for the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever. But and the fan base right now is very divisive because it's not like we're just outright calling out for M. Night Shyamalan. Even some of y'all like again, I saw somebody was talking about The Room, like comparison, like yeah, guys, like I mean, listen, it's not. Again, it says not Cowboy Bebop. It's not Death Note. It's not the 2010 M Night Shyamalan version. What I have here is again, you said it best. This is not an adaptation. It's a remix because this is not the same. It's
Mhm.
one thing if you're doing an adaptation, and I'm like, okay, let me see how this goes. This is a remix, right? But the point is, are you going to get people like my wife who went blind with One Piece and loved it? And for same thing for me, I mean, I have like into certain anime. One Piece is that I just haven't gotten into. Nothing, not against it, just haven't fully understood, gotten into it and everything. But definitely great Netflix show. But what is your thoughts on in terms of the fan base currently right now? What are you seeing online, and how this probably will lead to either the potential renewal or maybe cancellation?
Um, the main thing, and I swear, when I go onto my TikTok and Twitter, everything is mixed. Like one second, I'll see someone praising the show for being a great adaptation. The very next second, I'll see somebody talk about like the most minuscule problem that they have with the show and be like, "Oh, this whole show is garbage. The 2010s movie is better." And personally, me, like you said, we have been dogging it for the good and the bad, but overall, I I do like it, and I feel like it's a very solid start, and I feel like, the foundation is there for this to be a great companion series along with the original. Um, I just feel like a lot of people are see, that's the thing, kinda like what we said at the beginning. Look at this not just as an Avatar fan, but look at it, like, for real as a show, and, like, it's really not a bad show. I just feel like some people are just kinda letting the nostalgia and stuff get to their head and, like, judge it too harshly, but it's just like, overall, this is a good show. It has its problems, but overall, I still feel like it's good enough to get a season 2, and I really do think it is worth the try to see how these characters, actors, writers, I just wanna see, like, the cast and crew behind the show improve. And, I'm a big film and TV person, so I'm all for, like, seeing out people's potential, and I really do feel like the show has a lot of potential, especially for season 2, because basically with season 1, we knocked out a lot of the world building. Now we are ready to focus more on the characters with season 2. So, yeah, that's pretty much, like, my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I honestly believe that there's a few things that they need to get right to make better, changes and decisions. Now that, hey, you're moving forward off rip, without the creatives that are involved. But at the same time, you still have a good relationship with the actors, with the voice actors of the show. And I think also it might just take a conversation, because I think also hopefully if they ain't stupid, like you guys see the numbers, you guys see the ratings. Let's come back to the drawing board. Like, hey guys, we were wrong with this decision. Let's maybe move forward and make this involve you guys, and making sure you guys are involved. Because again, I've seen great. We had a whole few with Fast and Furious about with Dwayne Johnson and Vin Diesel, and all of a sudden this dude showing up at the end of Fast 10. So I was like, hey, say I'll never be in the Fast and Furious movie, and then people can make up. You know what I mean? Definitely, I said this, have at least 10 or 12 episodes to actually flush this out, especially when we get to like Bossing Say storyline telling. And because again, you have the lost tales of Bossing Say and stuff, but that's one thing. But now when it comes to casting, now again, there's only one thing that for me, that for next season, that is non-negotiable. That is absolutely non-negotiable. That do not, if you are gonna get greenlit for season 2, and I believe they will, that you have to get this character right.
Definitely.
You have to get the greatest airbender that ever lived, Toph Beifong. You have to get this character right. You have to get the animation or visual effects of her earthbending, of the echolocation, because she is blind. Right? But like her height, all that stuff, the voice, but also her bruteness. Because also there's another thing too. Did Aang ever trained in this season?
No.
Exactly.
Oh, now you just reminded me of another gripe I had. I really feel like he should have learned water bending at some point this season. Like, oh man, because now next season they're gonna have to deal with him learning water and earth bending at the same time.
Yeah, and I think the fact of like, okay, Toph is a teacher and she's hard. No, there's not. You talk about people being serious and stuff. This should be your most serious character, and should be the person that will say lines that will be out of pocket, but she can say that. It's like so. And we have to see that relationship, that dynamic.
I feel like they're gonna have a lot of pressure to get Toph right.
I believe so too, and I think that's like if they make a season 2, or when they make a season 2 announcement, that's going to be the character to get the reveal. You know, that's like, hey, guys, we're doing season 2 and we're bringing it off. You know, and so that's how they did with One Piece. They teased Smoker at the end. So like, yeah, they just that's the leading character you got to get right, because it's also about, again, the teaching, which is when I was watching the show, a fan of ours who didn't know anything about the anime series, she's like, yeah, I really would like Aang to be taught how to water bending and all this stuff. Like, he had gone through teaching, but then I'm like, okay, on the one hand I agree with you on yes, but then in this I'm like, okay, what would a 12-year-old kid do? Negate the responsibility and have someone else do it for him. He literally was asking the avatar, hey, can you possess me again and take over the Fire Nation? Like he went up, but it's like, as a 12-year-old kid, like, well, she helped me out, so you can help me out, right? Like, I don't want to do this. Like, so yeah, I think that, but like with Toph, there's like no excuse. So, and which that'll also be a good building for the actor that plays Aang. That'd be a great in terms of having another emotional element for him, an opportunity for him to grow as an actor. And again, because I see the potential here. I see the potential in all these actors. And like, there's one thing we can say, oh, this person miscast. Like, no, you weren't miscast. You just wasn't. I think you just haven't fully developed your character yet. Which, mind you, this happened 2.5 years ago. So they got time to build up. And again, and you can take the constructive criticism and actually build off of it. You know, there's one thing for you, the pressure of, oh, this show's fantastic and everybody's great, nobody can do wrong. But the one issue of that is that you establish now a standard. So you go below that, then there's an issue. With here, it's divisive, and then now here you have something and take the criticism, also people backing you like, hey, I love this show, I like this, I like that. So you have something to stand on, but then you have another mountain to climb, metaphorically speaking, as a actor to grow. Like, hey guys, this is what I can do. If you're missing this in season 1, wait till I show you what I can do in season 2 with this character. So yeah, I don't know, but what would you feel like that?
And yeah, because I wanted to add on to it. Pretty much, I'm gonna keep it real, and I might have said this back then too when it was first announced, but I don't feel like there was ever a way that this adaptation would have made everybody happy. Like Avatar is such a beloved franchise that no matter whether if all our issues wasn't there are going to be some people in the fan base that were going to find something bad to say about, you know, the acting and the writing and stuff like that, where it's like, and also I do want people to remember, like, these are kids. Like, a lot of kids, I know we've seen great kid actors throughout the years, but we got to remember, we got to give them time to grow and stuff like that. And, you know, if the kids of the show ever did watch this video, I would just want to tell them that, like, you know, you're doing a great job and I see a lot of potential in you. And I kind of wish a lot of other fans, specifically the ones that are complaining about this version, that they could just open their eyes and see, like, you know, everybody. That's the one thing I can say about this show. Cast, crew, directors, you can tell they have a lot of love for the original source material. Like, no matter how anybody feels about this version, the people behind this definitely have passion and love for the original source. So, yeah.
So what was overall? Ended off. What was like overall score would you give this show before you post it on Letterboxd, which I just made one, so I'm gonna give you a follow. But yeah.
You know what? You you just made me think about it. I don't review shows on Letterboxd, but I should start doing that. If I had to give it a score, I'd say probably a 7. You know, I'm definitely gonna rewatch the show, so maybe my score will change over time. But as of right now, I'm feeling like 7 is good.
Yeah. I'm actually, because I gave it in terms of what there was the letter score that I gave when I could, mind you, this show means a lot to me, means a lot to Devin, means a lot to, to our friend Josh who here at Spirit, to all of us. Like, we bonded over on this show as kids, now but we're still taking these lessons now. And again, the impact of this is unlike people can say for their anime, which the industry currently right now, as comic book movies had their high day of going on thing, just watch, because we just got a recent announcement they're developing a Naruto film, live action film. Watch, I said, regardless, good or bad, just watch how the IP industry is going to change in terms of switching from comic book movies or characters to anime shows, mangas, and characters. We've seen it with One Piece. We're seeing it with a lot of other properties that they're working on. One Punch Man, that's also in development. Other stuff like that. I'm telling you, someone who studies this industry, there's a shift that's about to happen. So just before you miss it, just watch. What's about to happen. But again, I don't give my props to the show. Again, I do see potential, and I do want to see some things of this live action. But again, I do again believe the cast was done, in the best way possible that it could. And I don't want someone be recast or anything. I just think I want to allow them to grow. But that being said, I will give this about a 7.5 out of 10. In terms of I'll probably give this maybe. First I gave it A-, but that was immediately after I watched it, and I had time to sit. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm probably just gonna give this a probably a B- or a B. Just be, again, it's still good stuff, great in there, but then some things. All right, you need to switch this out, whatever, and work on this. But yeah, I think for me, it's gonna be probably 7.5 out of 10. But before we even end, first of all, thank you, Tevin, for partnering me with this and stuff like that. I had a good time, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. But you were also a director too, right? You have some projects coming up you want to talk about?
Oh yeah. This year, I'm releasing my first short film, Blood Money. I'm every time people ask me to talk about it, I get so excited to talk about it. But yeah, I just can't wait for Michael and you guys are fans of Michael to see it, because I've been hearing a lot of great things from people that seen the movie and that read the script and stuff like that. So yeah, I just can't wait. And kind of like what I said about the Avatar adaptation, I really feel like this was a movie where me and my crew we had a lot of love for it. Like, I can see the passion in the actors and stuff like that. And of course, in the future, me and you can talk about it, Michael. But yeah, there were just a lot of great stories about on set, and my actors and stuff like that. And I feel like y'all are going to enjoy it. If you guys are a fan of Jordan Peele, then you guys may really like this movie, because definitely went into the horror thriller element with this one.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great, man. And hopefully, again, the opportunity presents itself. Because I want to expand my, my brand, and targeting, I partner with Mason, Black Film Association. They're building up directors and stuff like that. People in my fraternity, and but yeah, I would like to potentially, if opportunity presents itself, to interview you when the film come out and stuff, and we can if you're open to it. But yeah, it's just I want to again just probably help promote focus the best as possible with the platforms that I have. Because again, and then definitely God would bless me again, for the connections that I'm making, but also I remind myself is where I was and where I currently am is that I did not get on these opportunities of interviewing people on my own, but also knowing that when I see talent, I don't want to let it go unnoticed, and so I just want to make sure that I hopefully provide that for you, and also other content creators, for people watching right now. As well. But thank you, Tevin. I just want to thank you, man, for stopping by. You can stay in the back where we end the show and everything. But yeah, guys, this is Jedimike7. Thank you guys so much. And for your participation, this was great. This was completely random, but I know this was highly anticipated for you guys to show up. I thank you guys in the chat. And make sure you guys hit subscribe button, comment, like, and share. Also, Tevin's link to all of his socials and his property in terms of films, social media, YouTube channel as well, Instagram, all that. It's going to be in the link tree in the description box below. So make sure you guys check that out. That's my wife, Tamika. Thank you. And also shout out to moderators on the show today and everything. Appreciate that. I got some content coming for you guys. Got interviews with BMF. Got interviews with Disney for this new show, Awaju. Just this new show is coming out, I believe, next week. We got Invincible coming out, which the second half, which I've seen. So I got some more content for you guys coming and stuff like that. So, but yeah, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, comment, like, and share. And we hope you guys see you guys in the next video. So peace. We are.
See ya.
Is there anything you want the fans to know or any last thing you want to say to them before we get to see this series tonight?
This is where the fun begins.